Hi and welcome to my evaluation video for my media music magazine. In what way does your media product use, develop or challenge the forms and conventions of real media products? To begin the project, I ensured that I researched existing front covers, contents pages and double page spreads. I carried out this research to ensure I could apply the knowledge I gained to make sure my magazine appeared genuine and authentic. When researching, I focused on the pop genre, but I also looked into different genres such as rock and alternative to ensure that I learnt the contrast between the different genres and to ensure that I also obtained an excellent understanding for the existing products on the market. Throughout the production of my magazine, I have used, developed and challenged many of the existing conventions of music magazines. When carrying out my research, I found it was conventional to apply a close-up or a medium close-up shot of an iconic and recognisable music artist. I went ahead and used this convention while taking inspiration from magazine brands Just Pop and Q. By using this type of shot, the audience are able to visualise the artist close-up and personal. I also found from my research that many magazine companies choose to apply a large title taking up a large segment of the top section of a magazine. I decided to apply this convention to my magazine. This is because I believe my audience would find a large title more eye-catching, hence more people would be drawn in to pick up and read the content of my magazine. I noticed the convention of many pop magazines was the use of coloured boxes around text and across the layout of the front page. The colour of the box usually linked back to the original colour scheme across the magazine. Therefore, I went ahead and I decided to challenge this convention by applying coloured boxes to my magazine. Instead of applying it to the text, I decided to construct a border around the front of my magazine, which I believed made it look authentic and also gave it a more sophisticated feel. My research also helped me to identify that sans serif fonts are conventional to be used on magazine front covers. I found this convention rather successful, hence the reason I chose a sans serif font for my own front cover titled Americana. This font stood out to me as it was bold and striking, therefore I thought it would have the same effect on my audience, hence the fact that I've applied it to my own music magazine. One of the most important elements of the front cover of my magazine was to ensure that I had a captivating but unique layout. I looked into many different existing front covers and found that it was conventional to apply both artist names and small briefs of the different articles which will later be included within the magazine. Personally, I did not find this layout attractive, therefore I wanted to recreate something that looked more simplistic but effective. Hence the reason that I chose to simply apply artist names across the bottom of my magazine, but through lots of speculation and experimentation, I do feel that the simplistic layout of my front cover does make it more appealing, eye-catching and attractive to the audience. When collecting my contents page research, I found it was predominantly conventional to use numbers to allocate different page locations to articles. Instead of using this convention, I challenged it and opted to use spaced out lettering. The use of spaced out lettering later became a convention in my own magazine, as I have used it on my front cover, my contents page and my double page spread, and it has worked effectively throughout. I also found that a convention of many different contents pages was the use of different shot types and many different photographs placed across the entire contents page. I decided to challenge this convention as I didn't feel that it was visually pleasing to have different photographs scattered across the contents page. I also believed that the use of the different shot types and many different images made the magazines appear messy during the research, not allowing the reader to gain a focus on one element of the magazine. Therefore, I decided that by using just two images, readers were more capable of selecting one focus upon one element of the magazine. Through experimentation of the different images that I had taken during my photo shoots, I decided that I was going to use two different close-up images, which tied the magazine contents page nicely together and gave a visually appeasing effect. A very common convention of double page spreads is the use of one main image across the left page with an article placed directly across on the right side of the double page spread. I decided upon challenging this convention and swapping around the usual placements by allocating the image to the right side of my double page spread, and my article was then placed on the left side. I thought that this was a very important convention for me to challenge, as when a magazine double page spread is first opened, the right page is what is usually viewed first by the audience. Also, I do believe that pictures are more captivating than text, therefore I think that the photo does a better job of captivating my audience rather than if I was to have placed my article on the right side of my double page spread. Across the majority of my research, I found it was conventional for magazines to use a close-up of an artist for the main featuring image across the 2 pages. I decided that I was going to use this convention within my own work, as the closeness of the image connects the artist to the reader, which will then ensure that the reader is intrigued and desires to read the article about the musical artist. One of the most common conventions of a double page spread was the content of an article being split into 3 equal columns. This convention makes the article content easy to read through and visually appealing. Therefore, I decided to use and develop this convention by applying 3 columns, but then going in and adding 2 different separating panels to ensure that my article had an increase of ease of read for my audience. How does your media product represent different social groups? Within my magazine, an age from teenagers to young adults around the ages of 16 to 22 is represented. This is due to my use of young 16-year-old females and males for my models within the magazine. I also opted for the models to be wearing bright, pastel, trendy clothing to have a direct appeal to this social group. I also ensured that my age range has lots of portrayal throughout the magazine. I used a youthful 16-year-old model to portray an 18-year-old singer. I decided upon her having an elegant pose, holding a neutral face expression. I decided upon representing both sexes, using both male and female genders within my magazine to ensure there is no specific gender appeal, so I am able to reach a wider audience. Although there is a biased approach to targeting females by using more than one female model within my magazine. My magazine targets a middle-class individual as it showcases models who are wearing affordable yet fashionable and stylish clothing. An example of the affordable and stylish clothing comes from my male model, who is seen to be wearing a classy, affordable yet stylish bomber jacket. The language within the magazine that I chose to apply is predominantly casual, with the occasional more formal feature to directly represent a middle-class individual. What kind of media institution might distribute your media product and why? When doing research into existing large media distribution institutions, I found Bauer Media Group would be well suited to distributing my magazine. They have many desirable traits as an institution. Bauer Media Group is a European-based company who were founded in 2005. Overall, they have a large portfolio of 500 magazines. The institution offers magazines through TV, radio, and their website. These platforms reach a large audience highly suited to my magazine. Due to Bauer's long history with working with media products, they will be able to provide specialist improvement advice and distribution services with brilliant knowledge of how to target my audience. Their use of cross-media conversion by using media for advertisement is perfect to reach my younger audience. Overall, their masses of experience with magazines makes their institution most desirable to be my distributor to my specific media product. Who would be the target audience of your media product? The target audience for my music magazine is teenagers to young adults aged around 16 to 22, predominantly targeting females of any sexuality, but does have appealing factors to all ages, genders, and sexualities. This is Sky. She is an 18-year-old straight female. She's currently studying photography at college. In her spare time, she enjoys spending time with her family and pets. She also loves to take photographs and attends concerts regularly with her friends. She also spends a lot of her time researching fashion. She loves to spend her money on music, fashion, and art, and also listens to chart music artists such as Ariana Grande and Bruno Mars. This is Savannah. She is a 17-year-old straight female who is studying A-levels. In her spare time, she tends to study, hang out with her friends, and she also enjoys going to concerts when her favourite bands are in town. These individuals are both perfect examples of those within my target audience. How did you attract or address your target audience? During the planning production period for my music magazine, it was very important for me to ensure that I was carrying out audience research. I applied the information that I gathered from my audience research to ensure that when I was producing my magazine, I was producing a product that was going to be appealing to my target audience. After recording the answers, I took the opinions into consideration. As an example, by the request of my audience, I predominantly chose female models as this is the gender the audience wanted to see predominantly featured within my magazine. It was also suggested that my audience would find a pastel magazine successful, hence I applied a predominantly baby pink and baby blue theme across my front cover, contents page and double page spread. By using the same colour scheme throughout the 3 elements of my music magazine, it ensured that I kept consistency throughout the entire project. I also asked my target audience which of the following names they would like me to use and apply to my music magazine. I asked them if they preferred Pulse, Stream, Vibes, Think or Beat. I was very pleased with the feedback that I received, and they all had decided upon choosing Pulse as the name of my music magazine. I personally enjoy the name Pulse as it is short and memorable and also has a direct link to music within the name. After completing my rough cut magazine, I ensured that I asked my target audience which adaptations and changes I needed to make to my magazine before handing in my final cut. What do you like about my rough cut front cover?
I really enjoy the pastel colour scheme.
And what do you think could be improved?
I think the layout of the articles could be improved.
What do you enjoy about my rough cut contents page?
I really like the presentation of the articles.
What do you think could be improved to my contents page?
I think you could add borders to the images.
What do you like about my rough cut double page spread?
Again, I love the pastel colour scheme.
What do you think I could do to improve my double page spread?
To improve, you could go back into Photoshop and retouch the images.
I made the following changes to my rough cut after receiving feedback from my audience. I removed the bright pink background on my front cover and replaced it with a sophisticated and unintimidating white background, more pleasing to the eye. I ensured that my colour scheme was running fluently and consistently throughout all of my magazine. After carrying out my audience research and other researches, I ensured that I uploaded all of my information to my online blog. Therefore, I could constantly refer back to it while I was producing my magazine to ensure that I was sticking to the briefs that they had provided for me. I also opted to select more relevant images to apply to my contents page. I completely scrapped my old double page spread and worked through a long list of suggestions and improvements to achieve strong contrast between my rough and final cut. After making the larger adaptations to my rough cut, I also made smaller changes to tiny details, such as the addition of a website on top of the barcode that I had applied on my front cover. This was a suggestion from a peer last minute just before I handed in my final cut, but looked successful, therefore I kept it for my final cut. After all of the adaptations that I had suggested by my target audience, I was left with my final product. Many factors of my magazine I changed over and over again, such as the use of font on my magazine. I went back to the original choice of Americana. I also tried a pink, black, and blue colour scheme, but eventually I settled on blue after asking my target audience which one was most visually appealing. The attractive models of both sexes that I chose for my magazine were aimed to be relatable to my audience. These figures also attract people of the opposite sex, therefore targeting a wide spectrum of genders. Overall, I aimed to obtain a classy, sophisticated, but fun magazine, which aims to make the audience feel the same way after purchasing my magazine. What did you learn about technologies from the process of constructing the product? When photographing my models in the school studio room, I used a Nikon D5-100 SLR camera, which I've learned to use correctly within the time period that I've been studying media. I learned about the adjustments I am required to make to shutter speed and aperture, which affects how much light the camera reaches. This has a massive impact when taking photos, therefore I required this knowledge to ensure that my photos were of a decent standard. I have also learned simple framing techniques, such as how to apply the rule of thirds. Although simple, they are very important as completely change the outcome of a finalised photograph. I have experimented with different ways and means of creating perfect lighting within a photograph. Predominantly, I used the soft boxes within the studio as their professional lighting equipment pieces, and they also provide a diffused and gentle light across photograph. Once I had gathered my images, I went off to develop them within Adobe Photoshop. I used Photoshop to perfect and adjust all of my images to ensure that they were perfect when applied to my magazine. I ensured that I adjusted the brightness on all of the pictures that I inserted into Photoshop to complement the lighting provided by the softboxes when I was taking my photographs. I decreased the harshness on the eraser tool and went around all of my photos to cut them out, as I personally found this more successful than using tools such as the lasso. I also used the patch tool if any of my models had any blemishes or imperfections that I needed to apply corrections to within the photograph. To finalise my magazine, I placed all of the different elements into Adobe InDesign. Within InDesign, I used frames to move my text and images around to create the final look that I have with my Final Cut music magazine. Without the use of InDesign, I most likely would not have been able to have achieved the finalised, authentic and professional look to my magazine. Throughout the production of my magazine, I have tracked, recorded and reviewed my progress by uploading content to my online blog on Blogger. Blogger has allowed me to upload text and media content to track the progression of the production of my music magazine. Also, I have mastered how to use the editing software program Final Cut Pro, as it was unfamiliar to me before editing my evaluation video. Looking back on your preliminary task, what do you feel you have learnt from it to the final product? Since completing my school magazine preliminary task, I feel as if I have developed all of my skills within media. I now have a brilliant understanding of all the different codes and conventions of a music magazine, whereas looking back, I obtained little knowledge on existing school magazines, let alone the conventions of a school magazine. The overall front cover I produced was basic with poorly selected font, whereas my new product has an intriguing and eye-catching font and layout. I also learnt the importance of booking the studio to avoid unwanted objects being presented in the background of my images, as happened within my preliminary task. My contents page for my music magazine has a clean and professional feel, whereas my preliminary task appears rushed, crowded, and has little skill put in its production. Also, my image selection is now much more relevant due to my increase in skills in the field of photography. Thank you so much for listening to my evaluation video. I shall now insert a clip with images of my final cut of my front cover, my contents page, and my double page spread.